Hey, today's video is on replacing the right hand or passenger side mirror on a 2011 Ford F-250 pickup. We use this F-250 out here at camp to plow the roads, and sometimes we get a little too close to things, and in this case, this mirror, which has been cracked for a while, finally got cracked enough where it lost its little turn signal lens, and the housing's pretty messed up. So I've ordered a new mirror, and today's video we're going to put it on. All right, let's take a moment real quick to talk about the tools we'll be using today. You're going to need a 7mm socket and an extension and a driver. You're also going to need an 11mm socket and extension and a driver. You're going to need something like this that you can use to help pull off these panels and these clips and stuff. If you don't have something like this, then we have body tools that you can use. You can also use a small flathead screwdriver. I'm going to recommend that you get one of these. That's called a mechanical fingers. You can get them almost anywhere, any good parts store, any good tool place. And it basically allows you to grab things. So whenever you drop a bolt or you're trying to fish out a wire or something, those are nice to have. And then since I'm working along, I'm going to be using these Irwin quick grips as an extra pair of hands, and a flashlight to look down inside the door frame to find the wire and everything you're looking for. So in order to put the new one on, we got to get the old one off first. And to do that, we have to access the mounting hardware. So the first thing we want to do is we want to pull this off. And then there's some tape back here that we're going to pull off, and it's going to expose these two nuts. The other two nuts should be right about here and here. So just remove those, lay them aside so you can find them later. I've learned to use something I found on Amazon, which, here it is. This little silicone parts tray. I put everything on it. The new one came with some new nuts, which I plan on using. And this is the new mirror assembly. It comes pretty much just like you see it. And I'm just going to leave it all wrapped up. The only thing I think I need to access are these. So we'll put it in just like that. I'm going to be using an 11mm socket. I'm going to go with the deep socket because these nut posts are long enough where a shorter socket won't fit over them. Let's go ahead and get these off. So as you get the nuts really loose and ready to come off, you want to make sure that you're real careful not to allow this nut as it gets all the way off to fall down inside your door. If it does, it's probably going to rattle around forever and drive you nuts. And so as you get close to getting it off the end of that post, I recommend that you go real slow and kind of allow the socket to grab it and take it off easy. So as you get to the end there, you just want to use your socket. Be very careful. Maybe grab with your fingers and pull it off. There you go. If I can do it while holding a camera, you ought to be able to do it with two hands, right? For this one that's in the bottom right position, you're going to need to go ahead and put on an extension because of the depth and the angle that nut is at, and the fact that this housing kind of blocks your wrench head from being able to get all the way in there. So those are the four nuts that came off, and these are the four nuts that are the new ones that came with the mirror. And there's a difference here I want to point out. These are all, the new ones are all one piece, whereas these older ones, they're Ford fancy. They've got a nut and a washer built in, so you can actually spin that nut on that washer. I think I'm going to reuse these. I want to use the fanciest nuts I can find. Also, when you take off this part, which was right up here, you may have a fancy Ford that has some little speakers in here, like a tweeter. If so, you'll need to disconnect the wiring harness that attaches to it, but mine didn't have that. Next thing you want to do is go ahead and push down the door lock. You don't want to shut the door unless you want to get locked out. Don't leave your keys in it. And then down here, underneath this grab handle is going to be this little door. This little panel, you need to take that off. It's going to have two nuts back there. We got to take those off so we can get this whole door panel off, and then we can detach the wiring harness that makes that mirror move and all that fancy stuff. So there's those two nuts. Those look to be about a 7mm. All right, after you get those two out, you want to go ahead and take out the bottom ones, and they're down below. You can kind of see them by looking up underneath the door panel. They're also 7mm, so I'm going to go ahead and yank them out. All right, the two that come from the upper part are longer than the two that come from the lower part. You can see them here. Those are the upper ones, and by comparison, these are the lower ones. So just remember the shorter ones go in the bottom. And before I take off this door panel, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the wires that are behind this window switch and door switch. I think you can just pop this thing off pretty easy. Feels like I can get it. Just my finger. Now to get these switches off on this one right here, you want to push in that tab. See how that one right there, it kind of goes in with your fingers. Well, it's right there. And the other one's tab's a little easier to get. It's right there. You just push those in and pull up. Also, when you're taking these out, it's going to be tempting to grab this thing by the wires and pull. Don't you dare do that, man. You might pull a wire out, and it's a mother to get it back in there. So just go ahead and make sure you grip it by the plastic and then pull. Now you ought to be able to just lift up on that thing and it comes right out. I kind of loosened it up, but real easy. You see these 4 little hooks. They go in with these corresponding 4 little holes when you put it back in, and you just need to line up the door latch. Now when you get this off, you're going to notice, hey Nick, I don't see that wiring harness. Yeah, it's still back there. Now you can pull all this stuff off and get to it, which is pretty easy. That's the way I'm going to recommend doing it. Some people like to take off the speaker, but this was already loose. Maybe it's happened before, so I'm just going to pull it back and nail it right there. To disconnect this connection, the first thing you want to do is just grab this little red part, pull it up all the way, and then there's this part right here. It's a little button. You just push that in, and then you can be able to wiggle the whole thing out. I'm going to have to use both hands, one to hold this and one to pull, but you just pull them apart at this point. Make sure you're pushing this in when you're pulling apart. You want to push it all the way down. Okay, with this disconnected, just go ahead and stick it back in that hole. That way when you pull the mirror off, it'll thread through. It doesn't want to come very easily. Let's see what's holding it up. Well, I looked around. There's really nothing holding it in, so it's just a matter of giving it a good pull. There it all is. And then as you get closer to the edge of this thing, you just got to thread through like so. There it is, one mirror down. Stick that in the box. Got the new one came in. Let's go ahead and install the new one. I had to pull out the camera stand for this next part. What you want to do is you want to thread your end into that square hole. If it seems to get bound up on something, best thing you can do is just pull it back a little and go in at a different angle with it. Then you want to try to line up your holes with your, I guess they're basically bolts. And then if you're like me and you're out here by yourself, you're going to be in a spot where the mirror won't support its own weight. And it's going to be hard to get on the other side of that door and put on your nut. So what I'd recommend is using something like one of these quick grips. And that's what I'm going to use just to kind of hold that thing in place. Just enough where I can get on the other side and put my nuts on top of them bolts. So I'm just going to put the nut right on the end of my socket, and then I'm just going to use that to line up my holes here and kind of thread it on real gentle like. You want to be careful not to cross thread it, so if you feel a whole lot of resistance, a lot of torque is being used to put it on, then you probably got it cross threaded. Need to come on back a bit. That looks like that went on all right. We'll do the same thing with these other 3. Once you have a couple of these nuts on, you can take off that quick grab. And I'm sure Ford has a recommended torque for these things, but it's not like we're putting the Jesus nut on a helicopter or something, so I think we'll be all right. Just getting a good tight. Just remember, you might have to take these off again someday, so don't get them too tight. All right, now your wire ought to be down in here somewhere. You probably need to go grab a little flashlight and put your long fingers on and try to find it and just pull it through this rectangular shape on the right. Now, if you look down in here, you're going to see over here a channel. It's a little rail. Your mirror, or not mirror, your window glass, this glass right up here, it slides up and down on that rail. So you don't want to pull that wire through the place where the glass will be when the window's all the way down. You want to go on the other side of it. To make it simple, you want to be between the metal door frame where the speaker is and that rail with your wire. You don't want to be on the other side of that rail, between the rail and the outside of the door frame or the door panel. That wire is pretty far back in there, so I'm going to use these mechanical fingers to reach back there and grab it. Well, with the help of those mechanical fingers and a few choice words, I was finally able to get this darn thing pulled through. Boy, that was a pain. If you have as much trouble getting this wire through the right place as I did, you go ahead and leave me a comment and I'll fill for you. Stick that back on there like so. I'm going to go ahead and unwrap this mirror now that it's on and I've got everything plugged in, and I'm going to try see if this mirror actually works. No sense in going through the rest of the reinstallation if something ain't right. So I'm going to go ahead and fire the truck up and check it out. So from the cab, move around your mirror switch and you'll be able to see that it moves. And then turn on your lights, and this bottom light should come on when your lights are on. And turn on your right blinker, and that should blink when that right blinker's on. All right, it's time to put this door panel back on. So we want to line up those 4 hooks at the bottom with these 4 hooks in the door. See if I can do this one-handed. All right. Once you got those in the spot you want, then go ahead and push it forward a little and grab your wires and make sure that they're going to come on through here real easy. The best way to handle this door switch is just to reach behind it and push it forward with your finger and make it go in that hole. Even though this darn door panel isn't completely seated, it should line up a little bit. And then with a few pushes and wiggles, you get it right into place. If you find you're having a hard time getting this door panel to seat all the way against the door, first thing we'll do is make sure that you've lifted it over the door latch. See that plastic piece back there? It needs to be on the back side of this, the door open or door unlatch. I don't know what you call that thing, but this thing. And, you know, make sure this is through the hole. And then back here, you see this, this lip right here. It needs to be as close to the window as you can get it. So you've got to lift the whole thing up, push it back, and then back down. So you want to go up, in, and down. Up, in, and down. And then you'll see that it now lays over that gasket that your window slides against. I'm just going to go ahead and look around all my edges to make sure it's tight. And it looks like it is. I don't have anything blocking it, nothing pinched. I got my wires up where I can get to them. Now we can put back in that door unlock and window switch panel. There's only one way these little wiring harnesses go on. You'll figure it out. And then you just want to put it back into position and then give it a nice little push down and make sure everything looks good. This one doesn't look too good. There we go. That one ain't holding on right. There we go. So that looks like it's in. Now it's time to put those 4 screws back in. Remember, the longer ones go at the top. All right, next we need to put that little panel back on. You can see it's got different edges, right? One has kind of a backwards J, and one has a kind of an arrowhead point to it. The one on the right is the arrowhead point. You want to put these up. So you want to stick those in there. And you just want to push it in like so. I guess if you want to, and it's still sticky enough, you can put this little piece of plastic back on. I'm going to go ahead and try to stick mine into place. I don't know how successful I'm going to be. No, that thing's done. I'm not going to worry about it. I will put this thing back into place. Alright. And then last is your little rubber grommet covers here. Goes in. All right, my friends, it's all done. We got the old and busted one here, ready for the trash can, or recycling center, whatever you choose. And we got the new one on. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and do all that stuff. It only takes a minute of your time. I appreciate you. Bye-bye.